Hello, everyone. As Juliana nicely introduced, I'm Ines, and I will give a little bit impulse on my work, and I will do it in English. Aber wenn irgendjemand möchte, dass ich was auf Deutsch erkläre, dann geht das jederzeit natürlich auch. So, my research group, Design Diversity New Commons, is very situated in between different disciplines and approaches. So we're integrating art and design with critical humanities and the social science. And if that would not have been already enough of chaos, I'm kind of also putting on the natural science on top of it. And we're exploring like the field of tension that lies in between these different disciplines, but also maybe the common ground that we can explore. Thereby we're focusing especially on three fields: gender and diversity, post-Western perspectives, and the so-called post-Anthropocene. My research project is more in the area of the post-Anthropocene. And what does this mean? Because I know they're all quite heavy buzzwords always that we're using and spreading around. It means that I'm looking into, first I'm looking into the conditions, the discourses, and the theories that have shaped the Anthropocene. So as you probably all know, like this epoch that describes the human themselves as a geological force, also as like a natural force. And actually this concept just got rejected, maybe you heard about it, by these ones who introduced it, like the geologists. But that doesn't mean that like the relevance is exhausted, because you can see it more as a diagnosis of the present instead of just a discourse of the natural science. And it's pointing to much like deeper problems that lying behind, and it's the problem that our stable conditions of our existence, or the way how we used to live and think, is somehow has been shaked. And it raises questions about the ontological separation between nature and humans, as it also has been made up by and through the academic disciplines. So you always have or had the natural science in one corner, and then the cultural studies on the other side of the corner. And now there comes up the question, does this make sense? Because as humans, we're also part of nature, and we're also acting as kind of like a natural force. So now, as the economist says, humans have changed the way the world works. Now they have to change the way they think about it too. So more and more calls for transdisciplinary approaches are coming to the fore, also for like hybrid methodologies, different epistemic concepts, practices, everything that helps to dissolve these dichotomous categories and recognize and connect different cultures, way of knowing, and ontologies. Concepts such as nature culture from Donna Haraway, from the critical posthumanists, trying to show different paths or offer different vocabularies that is emphasizing the entanglement of social and natural processes, and pointing to the so-called rational ontologies, so ontologies that focusing more on how the ways of being is actually shaped by relationships that we have, relationships from human to human, but also human to other actors, non-human species, and everything. So, what role can design play now in all of this? The way how we understand design in our research group is a very broad understanding of it, so we're not seeing it only, like sometimes when you think about design, you only think about like artifacts or technologies or individual objects, but we are also looking into processes, narratives, infrastructures, behavior, habits, and knowledge, and looking in a way on it to say, like, through the way how we're designing, we're always creating ways of being. And this means that design always has like a world making and also an ontological dimension. And if we're understanding this, we can also use design as an explorative medium to explore the ontological conditions, and also the values and the assumptions and power relation that shapes our daily life and shapes like how we shape it like through the design. And thereby we're using the method called critical making. So critical making is a method that tries to bridge critical theory with material making. So it uses the making process by itself to critically reflect about what could lie behind it, and also using design as a form of like a critical expression. And yeah, for example, these are objects of courses that we have given from different students, just to show you a little bit how it could look like. And in my own project, I'm following this path, and thereby I'm referring to something that at least I call the body turn, because the body right now gets really rediscovered in several ways. So first of all, at the material level, there has been more and more acknowledging that we are, through our bodies, of course, very connected to what we call nature or the environment, and environmental change and everything that happens now in nature also has an effect on us and our bodies. For example, allergies are going up, cancers because of microplastic. So the body becomes kind of like a bio-indicator for the health of the planet. And on the other side, it becomes really rediscovered on an epistemic level. So different kinds of epistemic practices and ways of knowing, for example, like implicit knowing, embodied knowing, tactic knowing, knowledge is rediscovered and is more and more, like the body is more and more being seen as a source of knowledge in very different ways. I'm using this and using like my own body in the project to kind of explore what I showed before, like this kind of like relational ontologies as another alternative concept from as how we have been lived so far. And thereby I'm exploring a little bit what I call the ecological self. So how can what kind of ecological concepts could be there that is not just in like focusing on biochemical processes, but also including socio-cultural dimensions and also myself in it. And thereby I'm asking how through the building of body literacy I can somehow can build up ecological literacy on a higher level, because there are actually like a lot of concepts on an ecological level you can experience with your own body. And that was, the picture is from a case study that we did through my master thesis that I did in collaboration with Katharina Schmidt, where we recycled phosphate fertilizer back from our own urine, because it was actually a nice case where you could really see how this can unfold in practice, because maybe some of you know phosphate and also nitrogen is very heavily used in agriculture on fields, but phosphate gets mined and nitrogen gets mined out of the air through the very energy-intensive Haber-Bosch-Verfahren. So the phosphate source is slowly coming to an end, and Haber-Bosch is very energy intensive. So it makes sense to think differently about these substances and about sources where we can get it from. And there, like the human body can act itself as like an ecological link to rebalance out the cycles. Yeah, and that's why we use this to explore these concepts and made Strovit, which is like a special phosphate fertilizer, and also doing it through a DIY and home lab open source approach. So we also look like what our sustainable approaches look like on a technological level, and also how we can open up this biochemical knowledge that lies behind in a way that we can really personally connect to it. Yeah, now already coming to an end. I'm in the 10 minutes, huh? Okay.